Good afternoon. It's another head, heart, and handwork. So last time I unrolled this sampler that I'd started 18 years ago when I was pregnant with my twins. And for the last couple days, I've worked really hard at doing the fill-in. So let me show you what it looks like. Okay, so after a couple of days of work, I got the dress filled in and I got the trunk filled in. Let me get closer. Okay. So the pattern called for all of this work to be done in chain stitch. And I did that center of the skirt. It's hard to tell, but this is all chain stitch. And I did not like doing it. It was not fun. It was very hard to do because this thing's on the frame. So when I went to do the outside of the skirt, you can really see the pattern here. I started to do long and short. And I did the same thing. I started doing long and short stitch. But eventually I just started going like a thread painting, just trying to fill it in. So now what I did is I drew a guideline with a thread and started down here and kind of drew it down. So that was my center line. So I made the stitches on either side so it would go the direction I wanted it to. I did the same thing, drew a line and made all the stitches work. Did the same thing here, kind of went down the shoulder, over. Oh, I'm not done. I just noticed this little part right here is not done. All right, I gotta spend a few minutes filling it in. Then that. I love the way the face looks. It's over one. It's so delicate. And then over here, it is a true long and short stitch. I did it the whole way. Trying to go around corners, it was really hard to do that long and short stitch. But since this was pretty straight, I just stuck with it. And when I first did it, I was only using one thread. I didn't like it, so I doubled it up, and I like it now. It's this nice, fat, nicely filled in. You can't see the background fabric. It filled it in nicely. If I had to do this one again, I might do 2 threads instead of 1, especially on this outside part, because I found I was doing a lot of stitches just trying to fill in the holes because I didn't want the background fabric showed. So, yay. So this is, well, give me another 5 more minutes because I just found that spot I didn't do. That won't take long. So I'm done with this thing. Yay. 18 years. Yay. See what happens when you have twins and then you have another one after those twins? You got 4 kids running around, you can't do any handwork for years. So this is, I think, my last long-term project that I started when my kids were little or I was pregnant with them. And I'm glad to see them all done. So, hope you have a great evening. Happy making. Good afternoon. This is a head, heart, and handwork. So today is the 17th, 16th. And on my 25/7 count cross stitch thing, this is the last day I work on something. So I think I'm done with this for today. I might have some time to come back later, so I thought I would give a little update. So this is the chart I'm working on. I loved the phrase, which, the bury me with needles, with my needle and some linen in my hand, for I would not be idle in the promised land, by Lindy Stitches. Now I saw this as a model last fall at the Pacific Northwest Stitch Summit, and I thought it was awesome. But I also thought it was missing a little something because, as you know, I am multi-craftual. I'm not just dedicated to the thread and needle. I like doing all sorts of different stuff. So this is what I did. I pulled out graph paper. I decided to change the phraseology because aren't we doing phrasing? And, which you can't see from here, but the process was I mapped out exactly each word I wanted to do, put it on the graph paper, figured out where center was, and then lined everything up. Is that a perfect system? No, because when I got it on the fabric, I thought it looked a little too spaced out, so I put the lines closer. But what it is going to say now is bury me with my needles, linen, yarn, and floss in my hand, for I would not be idle in the promised land. So let me show you what it looks like right now. See, isn't it pretty? One thing I'm having an issue with, because this is 36 count, I never stitched in hand with something like this, and because my eyes are old, I was having problems. So I was putting it in a hoop. And this is what happened with the hoop. It warped, literally the warp threads. And it happened on this side too. Now that's a little annoying, but I think because I caught it and when everything's stretched out and soaked and washed, it'll even out. But it means I've been using this a little too tight. So I did have this wrapped so that it wouldn't cause a lot of stress to the linen. That being said, I think I'm pulling it too tight when it's on there. So what I've been doing is I've been getting this all the way out to the edge, putting it on, tightening it some, and then tightening the nut down. That seems to have helped some. I might try switching over to one of my Duchess hoops because it doesn't have these and see if that helps the problem. Because I do like it a little tighter than I've been stitching in lately, because again, these old eyes can't handle, I'm having a hard time finding the holes. This may be the first and last time I try doing something this high count, because it's just a pain. But anyways, that's it. Happy making! Good afternoon. This is going to be a head, heart, and handwork. So it occurred to me when I did that last video, the silly what's my secret turn on, that I haven't updated or shown any of the work I've been doing lately in like forever. So let's show a couple things I've been working on. So the first thing I've been working on is this. I don't know if I showed this at all last time or ever. This is a hand-painted needlepoint frame. Needlepoint that I picked up like 20 years ago. And more than 20 years ago because I had no kids. And I've never worked on it. So I finally got over myself and my fear and did it. And I've only worked on a couple places. I got her belly right here and the tail right here. And I got most of this star done. It's not a lot, but it's a start. Rather than sitting in my closet just gathering dust. Now I had been wanting to start the rest of this tail instead of working on this, but the threads that were picked for me, this is the fun thing about hand painted canvases is it shows you all the variations of color. It's like this is all blue, but it's different shades of blue. Well, this area is lighter than this area. And the thread that was picked out for the darker area was not dark enough. So you really couldn't see it. The contrast was not enough. So at some point, maybe tomorrow, I'll go head over to Acorns and Threads and see if I can't find a fiber that I like, that I can work on. So, and then the second thing, this has actually been eating up a lot of my time. Okay, this is ugly. I hate these smiley faces. But what I've been doing, and I really can't show this whole thing here. I've been making a dress, and I have been sewing it by hand. I decided I wanted to try experimenting. I mean, I make my own clothes anyways. I made this. But I've never tried actually sewing it by hand, and because I hate machine sewing. I appreciate machines. They get a job done, but I really like hand sewing. So I'm like, how hard can it be? And actually, I've really enjoyed this. And I've been having a lot of fun with this. So I'd found this material at not Michael's, but Joann's, and it was like super cheap, but it was ugly. And I dyed the whole thing. I dyed it myself, cut it. I've been having a lot of fun with the seams. So I've been laying the seams down and sewing it through to strengthen the seams down. Instead of doing bias tape, I did a fancy stitch. And where am I? It's on this one. I'm working on the hemming. I got all the seams done. Now I'm hemming. And I'm doing this really cool, come on, it's hard to see, but it's a fancy stitch with the hem instead of just using a running stitch. And I'm using really cool threads. This is Double Donny. And that's basically everything I've been working on. Have a great afternoon and happy making. Good morning. This is a head, heart, and handwork post. So yesterday I took part in the Friend Stitch Halloween themed pop-up, and it was a 3-hour Zoom meeting, like a mini retreat. It was actually really fun, but I got to do it from home and didn't have to travel anywhere. It was put on by Heart and Hand Designs and by Bent Creek. So last week I got a box and it had do not open until the 5th. So that was a little bit of a, I don't want to do that. But when I opened it up, first thing I saw was this. It's a little coaster. It has everybody involved. I was like, that's kind of cool. And then there was this bag. Now, in the bag, there was a whole bunch of goodies ranging from Halloween candy to this really cute Halloween clicker and 3 projects and all the threads. So, and there was fabric for 2 of them. I chose not to get the fabric for the 3rd because I have a huge stash. And I'm like, you know what? I'll just use what I have. So This is one of the little ones. It's cute. I started working on it at the retreat yesterday. I got that far, which is not bad for stitching on and off. I have to take a minute break after 15 minutes because my hands hurt. And then there's this little cutie, and there's beads in here for this one. And then this was the main one. I like the fact that the main project is not super huge. The piece of fabric I need to cut is only 10 by 15 on a 32 count, which means it's doable. And then check out these beautiful threads. These are all classic Colorworks. And this is enough thread if you're stitching on 32 or 28 count, or even 36. There's enough thread here to do all three projects. I enjoyed it. I thought it was a lot of fun. It was a nice way to spend the morning. And the sign up for it happened in March. So if this is something that you would like to do, kind of dip your toes into that stitching retreat, this is a good way to do it, I think. Kind of gives you an idea of how a retreat runs. I thoroughly enjoyed it. And next year's, so if it's something you're interested in, next year's is going to be September 21st, 2024. It's going to be another Zoom meeting. I signed up for this one on March 29th, which is around my birthday, which is kind of a nice thing to remember. And I don't remember it being super expensive. It was like the $100 range, somewhere in there. It's definitely less than $200, somewhere around $150. But I think for what I got my money's worth. And there was, and there was a little finishing kit for this as well. So, yay!